The presentation was about gender policy in Iran prior to the Islamic Revolution in 1979, as well as afterwards. So we were discussing kind of how gender policy was reflected in urban policy and urban planning, and then looking very specifically at kind of how a model of Islamic gender policy was implemented in urban space by Iranian authorities following the revolution. We concluded by looking at two main interventions that were used by municipality authorities in Iran and kind of encouraging women's participation in public space, and were able to use the kind of larger successes of women's entrance into the public sphere, into places of work and employment and schooling, but then we're also able to anchor those in the urban space itself. After the revolution, there was a desire to create a new version of urban planning and a new idea about how the city should look like, and how these ideas of gender, which I was talking about before, these policies of gender, how they would come to look on this urban space, in the urban fabric. I think the connections or parallels might be obvious, some of them might be less obvious, but it's interesting to me in terms of what kind of comparisons we can make, what kind of parallels we can make within another sort of conservative society. So one of the important things I thought about sharing the experience of Iran following the revolution was because oftentimes we're forced to look at Europe or the US only for our models, and so when we begin to think about what kind of urban models or projects we can engage in our own countries, in Palestine, in Iran or other Middle Eastern countries, very often we're looking towards models that come from a completely different historical background and context. And so I think it's important as well that we be sharing examples and be sharing projects and ideas between neighboring countries that do have a lot of historical, social, and historical similarities.